It's okay.
Yeah.
Dropping shit. All right, so we're vamping. Mics are hot.
Mics are hot. We're vamping.
I probably should actually go to Twitch, see what's going on in Chizat.
Yeah, I'm calling up the deal right now so I can see chat and type in it and stuff. Got I've got 2 monitors, monitor 1, monitor 2, and then laptop down here. So a lot going on.
I have 2 monitors.
We're on the splash screen anyway, but the mics are hot.
One for each of you. There we go. Muting that.
Yep, they're hot.
That is a great looking. Okay, I'm hosting. Who's here? Fave's here. Elite Fuzz is here.
Nightworks
here. Nightworks. Neat Dev or Neat 3 Dev.
Gear-Splaining is live.
Shit,
It only took a minute and a half to get that notify.
So one time I was on here and my entire audio system crashed. So now if it goes down, I'm just jumping on via my phone. So you know if it happens because I'll just stop responding for a few minutes, but then I'll be back.
Via your
Sorry,
phone.
dog chewing up Velcro.
Hey, Tremendum.
Are we ready to do this?
Tremendum Labs.
I think we are. Isn't Tatchet gonna rate us?
Tatchet was done already.
Oh, okay. So there's no raid.
Correct.
All right. Got it. Let's see who's
so off we go.
We don't need no stinking raid.
Episode 4.
Let's get into it.
Yeah.
Hey, do that again. Do it again.
Wow. We seem to have lost Slaughter. Slaughter, where did you go?
I totally see Slaughter.
I swear, I'm here. Look.
You're here on here, but not there and there.
That is really quite exciting. I fixed it after this ad plays for the streamer themselves. That's unusual.
Aha. What up, Nightworks?
Nightworks. Tremendum Labs.
We're
Bridgewater.
All right.
We got some explaining to do.
We got some explaining to do. What episode is this? This is episode 4, ladies and gentlemen.
It is.
So we're gonna get started. First off, the most important topic that we really need to get into, and everyone who's watching at home needs to be paying attention. This is really important. Look at my new mug. It's a Dia de los Muertos coffee mug.
Your Day of the Dead coffee mug turned your voice into a robot.
Did it? No, I'm T-Pain is my dad, so that just happens. Look at that. It's huge. Okay, now that we're done with that. Rest in peace, Keith Flint is the first thing that I want to go over.
If this is show and tell, man, I didn't bring anything.
I think you might have something behind you, but you know.
This is my water bottle that I got when I went to see Radiohead. There you go.
Wow. That's a pretty good water bottle from Radiohead.
It gives you all these interesting facts about why you're going to die if you drink bottled water and why you should die if you make bottled water. It's pretty awesome.
Ooh,
that's fantastic.
It's like conflict in a bottle.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk a little bit about Keith Flint. Rest in peace. So today, everyone knows what happened. That Keith Flint committed suicide over the weekend. He was the front man for the Prodigy. Today, the Prodigy announced that they are officially canceling all concerts. This is likely it in this format for Prodigy. It's a very sad day for electronica. So I just wanted to open up by sharing that, and if anybody has any stories about the Prodigy or their favorite songs, just a few minutes to give tribute to a titan of electronica, and I think someone who influenced a lot of people. So I know for me that one of the first times I heard any electronica was Firestarter. That was one of the earliest things. Nine Inch Nails had come earlier, and there have been synth wave bands, but the first time I heard rave influenced electronica was Firestarter.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I heard kind of Front 242 and 808 State and a few things like that in the late 80s. And I remember that wasn't that early 90s Firestarter? Was that kind of
It
early
was
to
late
mid
90s. It
late
was Fat
90s?
of the
Oh,
Land.
okay, okay.
I was like a
Okay.
senior in high school, and it was perfectly timed.
Okay, well, I mean, quite honestly, it wasn't my bag at that point, but by the time I got through the full circle that we're going to talk about later, anyway, through the full circle of genres, I got back to electronica and got into it then. And so now it means something to me, and it's lame, but I don't have any thing to share about it, like, or any backing. It's just like I ended up recognizing it as cool like too late,
Yeah.
basically, or late.
So
Not too
my personal journey with it was like this. I heard of it and I heard Fat of the Land and I thought it was interesting. I was still probably more into like jam bands at the time. Um, then later when I got into electronic music, about 2 years later, I got into it more, and that's when there was outer space. There was a lot of things sampled and remixed and playing at raves and places I was at, and some things that I didn't even realize were Prodigy. And then I ended up doing production. So I started doing production in the year 2000. In the year 2000, and
The distant
I did
future.
can't
do
it.
can't not do it. Got to do it. And I ended up getting really into breakbeat, and there they were: Fatboy Slim, Prodigy, Chemical Brothers. It was right there for me, and so that was one of the first things that really ingested. And I wrote an album. I did a ton of work, and they started having issues with being able to put out music. And I was reading about it in Future Music magazine, Computer Music magazine, Keyboard magazine, how they kept on trying to recapture some of the spirit of their early albums, and they were really Liam especially was really forthcoming about how he didn't want to be left behind, and it was tough. So the creative process, starting to think about it, and some of the challenges of being able to keep it going, were also exposed to me by them. So it's really a shame that they're done. It's obviously very sad that he's gone, and this is the world we live in. Nothing lasts forever. There's a great Leonard Nimoy quote that the world is like a garden. You can have perfect moments, but you can't hold on to them. So it's
Hey, man.
sobering reminder.
I turned 48 this year, so how do you think I feel? That dude was 49. That's young.
Yeah.
Oh, you want? I had
That is some young.
Yeah, it's way too early to go, man. It's way too early. I had a moment like that though, where I felt old. Recently, I realized that Tony Soprano in the first episode of the first season of The Sopranos is a year younger than I am now. Should I be adulting harder?
Adult
That
harder.
dude was the leader of the mob.
Okay, Tom York is basically my age. How do you think I feel now? Right? Okay. Like, I mean, when he was so busy, like at the age when I was so busy just doing the worst possible things to my credit and my body and my reputation and my grade point average all at the same time, this guy was sweating it out in a van, doing the work.
Sounds like you spent some time the same exact way I spent some time. Was it perhaps in your early 20s?
It
That you spent
was
that time?
my early life.
Yeah.
I gave it all up. Well, did I give it all up? Yeah.
I gave it all up.
Well, hey, man, everybody needs something, but no, you get old and
Cheers.
you learn to take care of yourself better before things take care of you. So
Cheers with this giant mug. If you cheered me back, you'd be like, you need to I'd crush your Coke can. It's more substantial.
Coherence, your thoughts on on Prodigy and such?
Yeah, kind of in the same boat. I mean, it was like Firestarter and Smack Your Bitch Up. Those kind of popped up, and I was in the same boat as you, Slaughter, where it was like, this is cool, this is very exciting, and you can thrash to it, but this wasn't really my speed at the time. And I ended up hearing it later on, which was weird. But when I heard No Good, something that kind of set something off, and that actually set me on the path. That probably wasn't until about 1998, 1999, and when I did hear it, I'm like, oh, and it started clicking. Like, I was getting into electronica more. I was listening to Front 242 and Nine Inch Nails, and just kind of going down the rabbit hole, and that one kind of pushed it a little bit further into the electronica world for me personally. So yeah, it was substantial.
Well, here's you, Keith Flint. You'll be missed.
Real quick.
Giant mug cheers.
Yep, wanted to hit on the chat really quick. Yeah, Voodoo People, Blackpool for sure. That is cool. Welcome, everybody. Good to see you here. Leet Fuzz, A Bridgewater, Audio Odyssey. Hey, what do you know? Also known as Cosmic Farticle on Discord. Blackpool, glad you could join us. Dag 2099, D Quill, Eli Purr. Is it Eli Purr or Eli Purr? I'm gonna go with Eli. Lisa, good of you to tune in, Mew now. Oh, how do you say that? N3TD3V. That by itself could work just fine, but I don't know. Nightwork Sopiac, glad you could drop in. Steve G, Tremendum, and Vizzo. Thanks,
Let's give
Vizzo.
a shout out to our guest,
Vizzo.
Mr. Slaughterhouse.
Vizzo Italiano.
Absolutely. Slaughter, thank you for joining us today. I figured we actually just skipped right past that part, and I thought that was a rather important part to stop on.
Yeah, so
well,
let's
we just slid right into the show, didn't we? That's all right.
It did happen.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Absolutely. Thanks for
You bet.
jumping on.
All right, let's get into it. What's the first topic outside of our memoriam for Keith Flint? We're gonna do the DJ Sync poll results.
We can do this.
I think the current events come first, right? Such as the Fortnite and
the Weezer bits.
Yeah. I think the current events.
Before we do, since we're not going to actually talk about it today, I did want to at least release the poll results. It seems that it was rather overwhelming, that people want to have a discussion on DJ Sync. So on a future episode, we will have a DJ Sync episode. I'm going to make sure to get somebody who is absolutely 100% against it and can argue articulately for their position. And then myself, who I go both ways, don't care. And then somebody who is purely sync and has never even beat matched in their lives. I think it'd be an exciting discussion.
All right, we'll do that on a DJ episode moving forward. Let's get into Weezer and Fortnite. All right, so to the chat, everybody who has, we talked about it in an earlier episode, the Marshmello DJ set in Fortnite. Who has heard about what's going on in Fortnite now with Weezer? And this is, let me kind of give a little context about why I keep bringing this stuff up. Weezer has now, they have like an island and it's Weezer themed, and they're basically using Fortnite, which is the biggest thing streaming on Twitch right now. And they are using it as a way to distribute. They have a new album. They're reaching a new generation of people, younger people, because Weezer was a big band when I was in high school. And I think that most fans kind of tracked with it in age and got older. And now they're actually reaching a much younger group. So they're getting a big second wind. It's interesting to me as a music streamer, as someone who both listens a lot on Twitch as well as does streaming, how this is developing within Fortnite. So this, I just want to make sure we're talking about it, because these are things that are going to affect us. They could drive people to us. They could start to cue people into, oh, okay, I can experience music from my own house, from a computer. I can experience live music, new music. I can learn about new things. So I think it's at least somewhat relevant. So thoughts to the group. Should be in a better game.
Gotta say that this is like a huge moment. I mean, the first one, the Marshmello one, was like this huge moment, but getting a much higher profile artist like Weezer, world famous, you know, mega millions of albums, doing this virtual platform thing, it's just going to trickle down, and it's going to become the norm for everyone eventually, is what's going to happen. So it's a pretty big moment in music, this thing, because the internet has become everybody's ubiquitous source of everything, and soon it's going to be their source for live music in a way that it hasn't been yet. And this is really one of the groundbreaking moments.
Yeah, I think it's huge. I mean, it's huge no matter what. Even if you don't like Weezer or Fortnite, Fortnite has the eyeballs. There's 140,000 people watching it on Twitch right now, and how many more are playing right now? It's nuts. And Weezer has a whole island. They literally built an island that you can go to in the game. That's a gigantic, unique virtual footprint they're putting down.
So, Vizzo mentioned something. He said, I hate Fortnite and I hate Marshmallow, and then further expanded on that, saying, am I the only one thinking that Marshmallow is overrated? You might be absolutely correct, Vizzo. The thing here, though, is forget the performer and forget the game. This is really about something
The
that's
platform.
it's in the zeitgeist right
delivery
now.
method.
It is
I've
super.
never played Fortnite once in my life. And
Nor have I.
I haven't really been a Weezer fan for a very long time, although at one point I was, and I've seen them live before.
Sure, but you know what Fortnite is, and so does
Yeah.
basically everybody else on the planet. And so
Correct.
it's really about getting, you know, what about that exposure on these new platforms where it's not so much a platform. It's not like anybody can sign up and go play in Fortnite, but it's a really interesting idea that something gets pushed into the zeitgeist like that. And actually, I even think back to some other kind of weird uses of stuff like Twitch doing that whole ninja stream on New Year's Eve. Like, it has nothing to do with gaming really, but they still kind of put that together. And while it was a complete train wreck from what I hear, it was, you know, it's still an interesting use of the medium, whatever that medium is.
It's really interesting to me because Fortnite, more than it seems other games, is trying to be cross. They're trying to cross their audience with like musical or cultural touchstones. And if you don't have to like Marshmello, you don't have to like Weezer. They're very different musical acts. They're obviously trying to put a foot in different places culturally. They're not just a game for gaming's sake. Once you start seeing something, and I know someone in chat said, didn't that happen? Didn't that happen in Second Life? And yeah, it absolutely did. It happened on a basis which was so much smaller than this, though, that it was an innovative idea, and this is it being taken to just such a huge level that it's hard to even grasp. I mean, I've never seen an artist put out a new album and promote it like this with an entire island in the biggest video game that is running, that people are going to absolutely engage with the content. And what I really hope is that it cues a lot of people into listening to music online, that they say, okay, we can enjoy bands by playing these video games, and also we can look at the streams on Twitch, and maybe we can just, if we're music fans, maybe we could just go right to the music, jump into the music section on Twitch and see what's going on. I still am not sure exactly how to make that connection. It's still, to me, these really super large bands or DJs, in the case of Marshmello, they're going to be able to do this, but there's got to be a way to combine both of them and enrich them. And right now, I think we're seeing some of those first steps be taken, and that's why I definitely wanted to make sure that we cover it whenever these things happen, because they're very interesting. They built an island. It's not just like,
okay. So Dag 2099, our buddy who streams VCV, is asking about didn't they do this in Second Life, back when Second Life was a thing? They did, Dag. They did it, and it was definitely a thing. But I think that Fortnite and Twitch and the scale of things has gotten to a whole new point of saturation. Twitch is pop culture at this point, and Fortnite is, a big reason why Twitch exists at this point too. I mean, it's one of the number one games, so it all ties in together. And who's Weezer's audience?
before it was just dudes like me. Well, I'm not even
But
a
it's
huge fan.
it's
But like
always
people our
been
age.
13 to 24-year-old girls too. It's always been that segment of the population with the disposable income and the room in their lives to be in love with rock bands and stuff. Okay, so this is good for everyone on Twitch because it is bringing that segment of the population to Twitch. And what am I, the connection via whatever, or ergo Twitch becomes part of what that audience wants.
Yeah, some of them are going to develop a taste for it. They're going to see what they see when they're here, and they're going to like it. They're going to enjoy some of the other videos. They're not going to just be there for 4 days. Some of them will be there and it'll be a trend and it'll pass. But there should also be a large infusion that filters out to the rest of the group. And honestly, it should also help power Weezer's second act in their career. I mean, I bet it makes them bigger than they were before.
I mean, I was about to say I don't care if it was Nickelback, but that would be going too far. I don't care if it's somebody that I completely, don't like, but not somebody, that bad, but somebody that I just don't like and don't care about at all, even less than something like Weezer. It's still a good thing if they're huge and famous.
Yep.
Like
unless it's Nickelback, in which case I think I need to go another way.
Yeah, then we can all just go. We could start streaming to Discord instead or something. I
Fuck
don't know.
Nickelback. Just
yeah.
Not doing it.
Like I
by
said,
the way,
I was about to say that, and I didn't. I didn't invoke it. Voldemort's not showing up.
I heard someone say this the other day that Imagine Dragons is turning into the new Nickelback. Argue with that.
Wait, aren't they the same dudes?
Imagine Dragons? As far as I know, they're different humans than Nickelback. But
I thought that them and Train and Nickelback were all the same dudes.
I'm not that connected to pop culture, so maybe they are, but I don't even know who the Chainsmokers are other than that they exist.
I'm being a smarty, dude. They're not the same dudes. I want them to be because they're all equally hideous to me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, this took a dark turn.
I blame David Miner's train stream because he made me think that it was actually a train stream, like something to do with the band for a minute there.
Oh, yeah,
that's awesome.
Instead of it being a train stream, it's a train stream.
Correct. He's riding a train.
By the way, anybody who doesn't know, David Miner is literally riding a train for 2 days, streaming like a mega set and making like an album. So not right now, but later you should definitely go hang out with Dave.
Yeah, it's fun. It's cool. I can only watch sideways because I get motion sickness.
I usually just listen. Sometimes I watch, especially if there's pretty stuff. But I like listening. I like closing my. All right, so I think that kind of beats the death of the whole Weezer Fortnite thing. I don't think we've heard the last from Fortnite. I think that they're going to continue to do these cross promotional things with music, and I hope that we start to see things like that happen in other games that have seasons that can be iterative and do these kind of releases, because I think it only makes everything better. It makes it like an activity that has more depth than just the one thing that you're there to do. So that's kind of my closing thoughts. And now we had a request to do the okay, so let's see. I think we should cover now the creative process. Anybody up for that?
Ooh,
the creative process. That's a pretty wide topic. Where are we gonna? What's our entry point there? Just in general.
So entry point there is taking a break from being creative, taking time off from music. When you we could talk about writer's block, how to overcome it, methods to gain inspiration. When you're not making music, things that could cause that.
I've got one that's related to the taking time off. So how do you guys cope with, I don't know how often you stream in total, Slaughter, but I know for me, I've got, 2 shows a week that I do. And each one of those, one's an hour and a half long, one's 2.5 hours long. You can pretty much just take whatever the on-screen time is and multiply that by, 2 to 2.5x. off camera, getting ready for each
Correct.
of those screens. Yeah.
Absolutely.
And so that's a pretty significant time investment when you're also working 40, 50 hours a week at a normal job, paying the bills. And then you add something like Gear-Splaining into it. It's you want to make the music, of course, and you want to perform and put on those shows. But at the same time, how do you balance that so you do keep the ideas fresh and you do keep it where it's a passion project always, and it never just becomes a grind?
Well, this is all very relevant to me right now. I recently have finished, quote unquote, finished an album that I'm still making the introduction for, but the album's done and turned in basically. And as soon as I declared it finished, I sank into a huge rut where I just didn't feel like making music. And I still don't, for the most part. I've had I got my head above water and I did a really psychedelic stream like a week and a half ago, maybe. And
I've been seeing you play Diablo or other games more than firing up the modular unit.
and I am gaming on my stream to keep my audience engaged somehow. I listen to music that I
Wazhack.
enjoy, and I've been playing Diablo, Wazhack, Sunless Sea. I'm gonna add in Sundered and something else because Sunless Sea is tragically boring for streaming. I don't enjoy that, but anyway, point being, or getting closer to the point, a few days ago, I linked something in it might have been Gear-Splaining on the Shrimps Discord, and it was Div Kid's album dropping. Okay, now I don't know if you guys had a chance to listen to this or not, but for me, when I listened to that, I was and I don't mind saying this, I don't care. I was actually moved to tears at a certain point, and I was like dancing in my chair at another point, and I haven't like been able to get that way about music for months. And suddenly I was like, now I feel like making music again.
Yes.
And for me, and I haven't done it yet, but I had to pull out 150 patch cables and hang them all up and then plug in the 40 or 50 that it takes to actually get started. And now when the inspiration hits for real, it's ready to go. And I'm sort of refining visual aspects of a new stream and just getting it ready so that way when I finally feel like tearing it up again, it's all just going to go boom and I do it, and just for anybody out there who actually like is a fan and a supporter of my stream, I want to say thank you very much, first of all. And second of all, if you're wondering what's this guy doing, I hate video games and I want him to play as Modular and make my ears bleed again, I will. It's coming.
It
I
will
just
happen.
It's been a year straight of streaming and it takes its toll. There were some really heavy, long marathon stream periods in there and then some other times with not so much, but it's been relatively constant for a year. And that means I've been making music that whole time too, because a lot of what I do is improvisation. I make a new patch every time I stream, basically, or I alter the last one significantly to where it doesn't resemble the old one at all, which is sometimes harder than just tearing it all down and starting over, actually.
Absolutely.
So, like you said about the hours put in, I mean, there'll be days where I plan on streaming and I spend all day twiddling in OBS and I never stream.
Yeah.
That's why I took my schedule down. I can't do it. I can't be on a schedule anymore. I have to do this when the inspiration hits. I have to want it, or else it's not going to be genuine for everyone. You know, there've been a few times when I forced myself to do it, and I was really unhappy. And I felt so happy when Mazmith would come on, or David Miner, or somebody like, "Yep, here we go. Bye, guys.
Here's a
Love
raid.
you.
Yep.
You know, gotta go because this sucks, and I hate
Yeah.
myself for doing it. Ah, you
You
know,
shouldn't feel that way.
And no, everybody loves it. So people were whispering me like, "That was so awesome. Why'd you quit?" It's like, you know, I'm glad you loved it, but I had to go, man. You know,
It's
and that's just the other side. That's the personal side. Nobody loves what they do all the time, even if they love what they do.
it's so the piece of what you just said that really resonates to me is it seems like streaming, being on a schedule, being regular, and presenting creates a rift in doing music that is it's it almost can become work if you let it. It can become a pressure on you to do the thing, and as soon as you do that, as soon as you put expectation onto something like music, a creative thing like music, as soon as you do that,
Yep.
what ends up happening is you have a hard time holding on to inspiration. And that's the problem. If you
Agreed.
can't hold on to inspiration, look, if you were like a professional graphic designer instead of like a creative painter, sure, you could do your job. You get, a list of requirements, and you do it and you clock out at the end of the day. But if you're trying to find inspiration and hold on to that muse and do art, then you need you need as clear a connection between you and it as possible. And as soon as you start having expectations like that of yourself, like, oh, I need to do my stream tonight, it can be a problem. Now, on the other hand, if you don't do that, if you don't have some level of structure to it, then it can be hard to be good at it, to be a good streamer, to develop that rapport with people who are going to watch you stream. So there's good reasons to do it. It's about finding the balance when you're doing it, where you can do it while being inspired without feeling like you've created it to be work. Because that's, I think, one of the first sins. A lot of people start producing and they get this big blast of energy right up front, and they'll do a track, and it'll be, oh, can you listen to my track? This is gonna be great. Oh, here's my SoundCloud link. This is gonna be awesome. And then they'll maybe do a few more, and their skills will start upping, and then they'll start putting pressure on themselves because it's time to write the masterpiece. And then they can't fucking make a 4-bar loop because it's not as good as what they think it should be. They're trying to make the Mona Lisa happen. And what they should be trying to do is just, like Chick Corea said, play, man. Just put your fingers on your instrument and make it go, and find something good that you respond to. And if you find something good that you respond to, find the next piece that you respond to. Don't make it work. Follow the good. Follow the thing that's inspiring to you, that makes you feel something. Instead of trying to create a masterpiece, just go for that one moment. Just play. Load up a synth, a VST if you on a computer, or turn on your favorite synth or one that you're just interested in playing, and then just close your eyes and put your fingers and let them do the work. There's two ways to learn how to do something new.
Quick little.
Because I can filibuster on this one.
Yeah, I'll let you continue in a minute. So, DJ Sen, thank you for the host. 69 Shadow Warrior and Moonhouse AV Department. I didn't see you before. Thank you for tuning in. I appreciate it. I wanted to hit on two quick comments. One was A. Bridgewater on this very topic said that he streamed programming stuff for almost every weekday for a little more than a month, and I remember some of those streams. They were excellent, by the way. Thank you, sir. And at the end, he crashed. It's been more than a month now, and he's starting to think about getting back to streaming again, somehow more sustainably, and I think that's probably a good approach. I love those streams, by the way. Keep them coming when you're ready. And the other one is actually from the flip side of that, Chris DeMello saying that consumers want consistency, or they lose interest easily, and I think there's something to that, absolutely, especially just in today's world.
Yeah, the product. There's two products, right? There's the product on Twitch, the stream, and then there's the art that you are also creating. And it's easy for them to become into conflict with each other, I think. And it takes careful, thoughtful, delicate balance to make sure that they don't come into conflict. And that's kind of what I'm talking about. But now, what I was going to get to a minute ago is this. So, what I think you should do is is follow inspiration, play, do something that feels good, that excites you, play something that really starts to light up your brain. And we all have been there when you play something and you know it's right, and suddenly you can't stop your fingers from doing the next thing. That's the moment that you're always trying to chase, right? That's the dragon. And it can be depressing even if you can't get to that. And the way to get there is get as clear as possible and play. When I say get as clear, get rid of expectations. Don't try to be like other artists, because you are not another artist. So you will not be able to live up to any other artist's profile. You can't make music. If you do, it'll be a second-rate hack, and you'll know it, and it'll bother you if you have a real artist inside of you. You have to be yourself. Now then there's another piece that you need to be able to add, and that is practice. Because let's say you're doing that inspirational thing that I was just talking about, that does not create a new skill, that creates the actual work. Creating a new skill. So let's say you want to make, we just had 3 days, so I'm using that example. You want to become good at making acid bass lines. What you need to do is say, I am not going to write anything right now. I'm not going to print. Nothing is going to come of this. What I'm going to do is I'm going to make an acid bass line. I'm going to delete it, and I'm going to do it again. I'm going to do it again until my fingers have the skill. And once that's the case, your fingers have the skill. The next time you approach the actual creative mindset, then you will have another arrow in your quiver, and you can shoot it if it is right to do. And that is my take on how to be inspired. And because of this, I went through 10 years of writer's block. I'm not even kidding. I wrote an album, I put it out, I did a couple more tracks, and then I got totally up in my head. Now, in that period of time, I also, got a job. I went back to school, so I had a bunch of stuff in between. But then once I started to really break down what was really happening and making it hard to continue going and making it hard to do things, it was that expectations game. Like I was going to live up to what I had done, or live up to the artists that I was into and listening to. These expectations that every time I had to sit down, I had to be able to crank out something that was a masterpiece. As soon as I got rid of that, as soon as I convinced myself, and sometimes you have to fake it until you make it, right? You have to convince yourself. And I just played, and then I found something, a riff, or a beat. I would make a beat. I love techno, so often it's a beat that I start with, and I would find something, and suddenly it's, yeah, okay, this is awesome. I want to lay down a bass line to it, and I'd do it, and suddenly it's all happening, and I'm not even in control. It's just coming out of my fingers. That's the creative process. The only thing I've found that can interrupt it, and I think everyone here might be able to respond to this, is especially if you're a gear junkie, if you have new gear coming and you've ordered it or you're planning on getting it, that can actually stop you.
Yep. Hey.
Oh, I'm there right now too. You guys have seen the link for my plan.
Yep.
I own about 28% of that plan, maybe. No, I don't even own a quarter of that thing yet. I'm waiting on stuff to sell before I can get it, which is even worse. Because somebody else has to buy my stuff before I can get the new thing. And it's really crushing my creativity right now because I'm so busy fantasizing about what I'm going to do with the Electron model samples as soon as I get it. Oh my God.
Oh, the fantasizing.
Figure that out. I can't figure that out. That one I got no good advice on.
I know that fantasizing where you know that something's coming in the future and you just imagine what it is that you will create with it or how you're going to use it or how it's going to integrate. And,
This thing gets ignored because I have the manual open for the gear that I'm getting, and I can look at that. And I can watch Loopop and Cuckoo and the whole gang play with my new toy.
They're firing off these neurons on something you can't even engage with yet. And suddenly you can look at the gear that you have, and it's not the gear that you wish you had, and it seems like it's tepid water or flat soda. It seems like it's not sparkling anymore, and that's something that's hard to overcome.
Well, for me, it was the perfect storm of finishing that album, realizing that I loved what I did and I'll do it again, someday. But now I want to do something different, which in this case actually does equal buying some new gear. It's not always the case that you have to buy new gear to do something different, but I've kind of pigeonholed myself down this real deep, dark funnel of making a modular groove box. Now, when you make a modular groove box, it makes very easy work of cat murdering and various, other forms of earhole fuckery. I don't know what you want to call it, but it's not really the best thing to like up your game in the realm of music with like a lot of chords and deliberate moves that you want to make, not without kind of adding the computers in and everything. And so I'm doing a different route. I'm adding a few hardware groove boxes, and I'm going to control a smaller portion of modular.
This is an interesting direction because I know a lot of people who are modular. They have they have keyboards and desktops, and they're looking at maybe they have some semi-modular gear, and modular is super exciting, and it's this thing that it takes a jump, right? You're gonna spend a bunch of money, right? So you have to also be ready for that. You have to understand it, right? I know for me, I'm looking at modular as one of the big next steps that I'm gonna take either 2019 or 2020. And the problem with it is, to me, is my brain still thinks East Coast. I'm still thinking the Moog model, right? I'm still thinking a 4-element synth that has oscillators into filters and got envelopes and LFOs. And modular can do that if you want it to, but that's just like rebuilding another mono, and I already got a few of those. So
Correct.
there's the West Coast thing, which incorporates other types of synthesis that I just don't have as much time on or understanding of, and that's the stuff that is actually most exciting to me as well. But I also just don't get it, so I'm a little bit afraid of pulling the trigger on any gear because I'm like, yeah, okay, maths, what's it do? Where's if I tried it, I would just like look for the
entire
filter,
episode of a whole. It's a whole series, man. But what I'll say is this: is you and I will talk at length, beyond like anything we could do on a show to make sure you're going in the right direction. But you have to. Here's the thing, man. I used to own this crazy room full of synthesizers that looked a lot like yours now, or Dequil or Masmith. It looked a lot like theirs, mostly like Masmith. It was that much stuff, And now I got that. I sold every single thing. And I only regret selling a few random pieces along the way that you would go, really? That's what you regret selling? But
that's interesting. I would like to know what those are. That's kind of interesting to see what happens when you purge what are the things that stuck with you.
yeah, because it's a strange list. I mean, it's short. It's the Mono Machine is one that I miss, and I mean. Okay, I miss my mini Moog, but I've told that story a million times, so it's not important. But I sold that. I bought that with the intention of restoring it and selling it at a profit, and I did that. And so that I miss it in the way that I would buy one, especially now. I sold it right before the reissue was announced, so it was the golden age. Yeah, it was peak timing and everything, and I had no idea, it was just dumb luck. So I got lucky, and if I ever want a mini Moog now, they're completely accessible. So my big sacrifice like kind of ended up not being much of a sacrifice.
Though the new ones, the reissues, as I understand it, they're more like the latter half of the releases of the mini Moog. They don't have there's a little bit of drive that happens in the filter, some harmonic distortion that happens on the earlier ones, and the newer ones don't have that. I guess it's part of it was actually a revision that took place originally. Like there's certain serial numbers that only go to. And one of the not critiques, one of the things that made a lot of old school Moog folks embrace the Behringer, the Model D, was that it modeled that. So if you wanted that saturation in the filter, the new reissues didn't have that, but suddenly the Model D did, and so they kind of left themselves open for someone to come through there. Let's see. Matt Smith says they said the same about the Voyager, that it doesn't get as bright and harsh, and I think the Voyager like goes well beyond it. It it started out as kind of like here's the platform, it's a mini modem. It's going to go into a lot of other different areas. Um, but that's one of the interesting things about Behringer. And obviously, Behringer also then took it and said, okay, and instead of $4,000, we're going to make it $300. So not only could you get the sound that you weren't able to get through Moog, it's also like significantly cheaper, and that then has an effect of bringing to market something that previously had been very difficult to bring to market, that it had been a big stretch for anybody. Um, and suddenly now everybody can have it. And that, good, bad, or indifferent, there may be good effects to that. There may be some bad effects. It could be having a democratization effect where a lot of people are able to access it. On the other hand, it could be cheapening it. And I think there's a lot of controversial opinions about that. But there's no doubt that it was a watershed moment when they announced it and when it came out. The Model D from Behringer.
The Boog.
The Bogue. Kalima Shakti Day.
The Bogue. So it looks like we're going there now. And that's cool. I think that we can get into some positives about
Did you like my transition, by the way?
democratization. Yeah, it was brilliant, actually. Very nice transition, you know. I mean, I watch a lot of podcasts myself, and recently I was watching the Tom Whitwell episode of Why We Bleep, which I would recommend to anybody who's getting into modular to watch Why We Bleep. It's a Mylar Melodies monthly podcast, and it's usually about 2 or 3 hours long, and it's him chatting with prominent modular people, makers, and artists, and it's wonderful.
Why We Bleep.
Why We Bleep, that's correct. You learn amazing things. Anyway, so Tom Whitwell, the inventor of the Turing machine and various other amazing modules, was asked this very question about, well, what does he think about the democratization of synths, and especially, I guess Behringer. I don't remember if it was about Behringer or not, but it came up, So he said it like really eloquently, and I'll just paraphrase because I agreed with him. There's nothing bad about increasing the accessibilities of synthesizers worldwide and generating interest in synths. There's nothing bad about that.
That piece of it, I agree.
That piece of it. And I just want to make sure before anybody thinks that we're going to go on a big witch hunt here, there is a positive aspect to all of this. The fact that, some of these things that are coming out that are really inexpensive are going to get into the hands of those, less fortunate, those, people in lower income brackets, and younger people. Most importantly, younger people.
So the democratization piece, doesn't that happen at an even more potent level with software synthesizers, though? VSTs are eminently easier to access. There's free ones. Most people have computers, iPads, or phones that they could play synthesizers on. So isn't it already happening in a way? I know that was important for me because I used to work at Sam Ash and I would make $300 a week and I couldn't afford jack nor shit.
Okay, well, I mean, that's a valid distinction, but I think that we're trying to really discuss the hardware.
Yeah,
right?
That's true.
I mean,
right.
You're absolutely right that, yeah, any kid can go to softwaremusicmachine.com, which is now a part of CNET or something else. I forget, some big site, but sharewaremusicmachine.com. Go there, find a million free VSTs that are legally free, all freeware and really,
yeah, okay,
you can get a million things, but we're talking about hardware.
Yeah.
We're talking about what's been going on with Behringer. We're talking about what's been going on with Roland. We're talking about what's going on with Electron. We're talking about what's going on with Korg.
We talk a lot about Roland. Uh, Roland is a frequent topic that comes up because they're so frustrating and also sometimes so amazing. And they're frustrating again and amazing. And we beat that one to death quite a bit. The Behringer thing, my take on it, at least for the Behringer piece, is it's a mixed bag, right? So there's, I guess the first thing is I don't particularly mind that they made a 3 oscillator synth with a ladder filter and a similar envelope. I don't think that bothered me about it. I think I was actually totally fine with that. I think what bothered me a little bit more was that it looked like the Moog. If it didn't feel just like it was trying to take the architecture of the Moog and make it accessible to a lot of people, it felt to me like it was trying to also take its soul a little bit. It used the same font and colors and aesthetic style, and it's trying to trigger off inside of people who play these things and listen to them, not just the same sound or utilitarian point of view in it, but rather the thing that makes people love Moog, the history of it, hearing, it on classic rock all the way through modern techno, this ubiquitous sound that has been so flexible and durable and important. And they're not just trying to do the sound; they're trying to almost hijack some of the culture to profit off of it. That's one piece
Absolutely.
that bothers me.
Yeah, and I think that it bothers most people who have a soul. The problem is everybody out there, is struggling to get by and coming up with $3,000 for a mini Moog or whatever versus coming up with 300 for a mini Boog is just ridiculously no brainer for everybody ever, except people who already know the difference.
Mhm.
And academically, I've heard the demos. It sounds enough like it, like to where, and I've owned one. Okay, it sounds enough like it to where it would sit in the mix in the same exact spot. That's not the bad part. The sounds like, and stealing the architecture, because that's like kind
That's
of,
more influence to me, in my opinion.
well, but cloning, just the outright cloning, it doesn't, it goes against the whole zeitgeist of what building a
Mhm.
synthesizer is about. And if we could cue that video, you know we'll just listen to Herb Deutsch talk about what the spirit of synthesizers is all about for a couple minutes. Like, I think it'll be obvious when he ends the story, It's only a minute or two.
Let's do it. Are we gonna be able to hear audio or just in the stream?
The next important part of the original synthesizer was a portion called the envelope generator. Now, the envelope generator allows you to create an attack on the tone and a decay on the tone. And I've told a million times the story of the envelope generator. I will tell it once more very quickly, and that is after we were working on the design, the original instrument did not do that. It simply, when you played a note on the keyboard, it simply went on, but there was no attack. And I said to Bob, well, there needs to be something called articulation on a musical instrument. And he said, well, what would that be? I said, well, on a trumpet, you attack a tone by going ta, and it creates a certain kind of sound. And when you play a piano, the string is struck, and it creates a particular sound called the attack. And then the tone dies away and slowly fades. And Bob thought of that for literally 30 seconds. And he said to me, okay, I've got an idea. And he said, go across the street and buy a doorbell, will you? And we were working on the original prototype. This was not even a finished anything at that time. And I did. I went to a hardware store and I spent 35 cents for a doorbell. And when I got back, Bob had already worked out a few ideas, and he wired the doorbell in so that when I pressed the key and pressed the doorbell at the same time, it would create an attack that could be controlled and a decay that can be controlled. So the concept of the original envelope generator was literally envisioned by Bob in 30 minutes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, that's an interesting place to stop and comment. That's great.
Oh, my bad. I'll kill that. There we go.
You're all good.
You know, this is what one of the things I go to KnobCon, and one of the things I really love about Modular, one of the main reasons I'm planning getting into it is because often you talk to people there and they're the guy who's also going back home into his garage and soldering it together and wiring it up and playing mad scientist and trying to find new ways to do new things. And there's like an adventurous spirit and community to that I think is really it's really critical that it exists. It's not just about commerce. It's about, you know, crossing wires in a crazy way and making new things happen.
So, you know, full circle with this whole concept is, where is that spirit that we just witnessed in that story in the Boog? Where is
Nowhere.
that spirit? Where is that spirit in the boutiques?
That's interesting. On the boutiques, it does not have that spirit. The boutiques, at minimum, have at least a legit claim to be able to offer nostalgia.
They do, but the way that they were designed is even kind of an antithesis.
Poor execution.
Well,
in
it's an
every
antithesis
way.
of that type of style. In other words, they were looking at it as a calculated methodology for making a common platform that they could deploy in a variety of ways that would have consistency so that they could have efficiencies and economies of scale and all those, you know, businessy words. That was the focus of the Boutique series. I'm happy that they made them. I am, because they really did, in a similar way, expand access to some of those kind of legendary devices to people at a reasonable cost. But at the same time, yeah, it's the exact opposite of this.
I don't know if I would say the boutiques have that spirit, but I would say that the Ira platform potentially has that spirit. Although I don't think they nailed it. I think the intention behind it was to do something new, to make it easier for the user and to open up new creative pathways. I think that by closing it off and some weirdly stupid decisions, they kind of short circuited it being able to proliferate. But I think still that it had some of that spirit. But yeah, the boutiques are about offering nostalgic happiness. There's no innovation to them. They're about something that had already happened and reordering it.
Yeah, and Sopiak just busted out with, you know, he thought for a sec that we were talking about boutique manufacturers, and I think that that was the first thing I thought of, that they're the ones doing it right in a lot of cases. I believe that
those are the guys in their garage that Dan was just referring to a minute ago, you know?
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
so let's...
Those guys have gone, you know, the lion's share of them seem to have gone the way of Eurorack.
It's a best platform for it, right? It's the lowest barrier to entry. You can easily create something for it. You can easily offer it. You can offer kits. There's a really good direct to the consumer model where you know there's vendors that specialize in it. So the barrier to entry to doing that, it's not like you got to get stuff on the shelf at Guitar Center. You got to get stuff, you know, in the distribution channel for perfect circuit audio, and you need to go to a few conventions a year and post in forums. And since it's you doing the actual manufacturing, how they get bigger, they're going to have scalability problems, going to have to find someone to help them manufacture it. That's a little bit different. But while they're still being mad scientists and finding their footing and figuring out who they are, it also allows them to be interoperable with other things in a new innovative way. The whole standardization of Eurorack allowed and opened that up in a way that the big full size modulars that have existed for 20 years really never did. 50 years, whatever.
What about a cross of those two things? So the kind of garage mentality and that boutique mentality, but also creating a clone of something that already exists using that kind of methodology. Where does that fit into this?
if you're going to clone something, you need to keep it as close to one to one as possible, in my opinion. Minor upgrades like modern connectivity, I think that's important. Like MIDI of some kind on a synth that didn't have MIDI when it was originally put out. But other than that, one to one, I think that's perfect. But when you get into digital control over every parameter of a synth that didn't have that originally, that's no, because it's a compromise, and the thing is, sound is always going to be the most important thing, but sometimes all the other stuff is just too much and it breaks that deal. Like, I don't care what the Boog sounds like. I vote with my wallet, and I support the things that I believe in, and that's not it. And I feel like that's really what we're dancing around here is it. We don't need to get into the gruesome aspects of it, but we all know there's some darker stuff at work here.
Yep.
And that is not what I am about supporting on any level, and there's a Behringer mixer back there. I own Behringer products. I'm ashamed of them. I want to spend the money to replace them with other products. The fact is the damage is done and they work. So, I'll leave them. They're not in my recording audio path or anything like that. So, whatever. And they were bought more than 10 years ago, too. So that's a testament to those particular products. But you can't call the DeepMind a Juno. You can't. You've done too much to change it. I don't care if you can dial in a Juno sound. Guess what? I can dial in a Juno sound back there. I can
I have a
do
lot
it on a
less
computer
problem
too.
The DeepMind, there's still a problem with how they're manufacturing it, and I think that's on topic in a big way. But I don't have a problem with its design. I don't have a problem with its look, sound, or playability. Although I do hear that sometimes you can hear a fan on it, and that sounds a little bit cranky to me in 2019. But that's not an ethical issue.
But that's not what I'm referring to. I'm saying don't call it a Juno clone. Don't call that thing a 106. My God, that's
Oh no, it's not. It's its own thing.
Yeah, it's more like an original thing, and I have less problems with Behringer coming out with Neutron and that other
Crave.
little Crave. I don't want it, but it seems all right. That's like a great original product for them. Hopefully, it's solid. Like
It looks kinda
hopefully the build quality is good and all that. I mean, I don't know.
I'll let you know. I'm gonna pick one up.
Yeah, definitely. I'm looking forward to seeing those out in the wild. I mean, I don't have any plans to buy anything like my plan is so Alcatrazed,
Specific.
You're
on the model sample.
You have a target. You have a way to get there.
HP, man. There's just I've got 2 HP of space. No, I've a total of 8 HP in a 2 HP block and a 6 HP block that are unaccounted for right now. And that's it. Everything else is completely planned. Every square inch of the entire new thing is completely accounted for, and the connections have been mapped and routed. So, plans, man, plans. That's another thing that you have to do, Dan and co. When you decide to get into modular, you have to plan for months and months before you even buy anything. You have to learn, or else you're going to buy something that you didn't want.
Yeah, I'm actually looking forward to that aspect of it big time.
It actually sounds a lot of fun.
Yeah, I like the planning. I like it's actually similar to some of the stuff that we do, Dan and I do at work, but it's interesting to say here are your limitations in a new sense, in a physical sense. Like you have, so much current and you have so much space.
Yeah,
Go.
yeah.
You got to be very
And
selective.
the only other really important thing when you're getting into modular, which was another topic we're going to cover tonight, I suppose, is a goal for your plan, not just a plan. Well, I'm going to get this module, that module, but like a big picture goal. Where does the modular fit in with the gear I already have? What am I trying to accomplish with this thousands of dollars investment? It's very significant, the amount of money. Most people assume that they can get in and they can like spend about $1,000 on one row and that's going to be awesome and it's going to do something for them. And I'm here to tell you that it's just not that way.
Yeah.
It doesn't work that way.
Welcome, Julie Jane, by the way. Good to see you tuned in. And totally, to your point, like the way that I've been looking at modular, at first I just said to myself, well, I'd really like an effects signal path. That'd be kind of fun. And I could do that, but then the more I was looking at it, and especially after sitting down and actually seeing a modular rig in person, in this case it was Scott Denise's rig, and hearing those oscillators and seeing what I could do just piecemeal. Now the landscape changed a lot. Now I'm building a synthesizer. Yeah, instead I'm building a synthesizer. I'm crafting the perfect synthesizer or synthesizers. And the interesting part is that in my brain, at least, I have a plan, but I also have these little variables that I want to pop in there. Things that, give me a certain amount of utility that I may not necessarily have an end goal in mind for right now. But I know that they provide some utility which might expand in the future. But then again, I haven't purchased a single item yet, so there's time.
Well, that's the other thing about it. When you're starting out, it's really wise to buy a semi-modular. It's really, really smart to get into patching and jargon and just kind of the whole vibe of what it's all about. I started with a Mother 32 when they first came out. I had serial number 124, and my second module was maths, and like I said, that's a whole series of shit to cover that. It's still, the Mother 32 is long gone. Maths will never leave. I'll keep it even when I quit playing modular. I'm just gonna keep it around as a paperweight on my desk or something. Like if I ever stop doing modular, I'm keeping maths. It's like the acoustic guitar that's not worth selling, but it's not worth, you're not going to throw it away either.
It had an impact on you, on your workflow. It was too important. Yeah. Hey, real quick, I want to address something from chat.
Yeah.
Chris DeMello mentioned the humble bundle deal that's going on. I think that it is worthy of bringing up. There's currently a humble bundle, and I think for $30 or $25, you get some stuff. Right? For $1, you get Music Maker EDM Edition. That's gonna be garbage. You're gonna need to spend a little bit more to get some good stuff. MP3 Deluxe 19 also sounds like garbage, but I don't know what that is. Looks like there's some loop packs, and you get all that at $12. But you pay $25, you get into some actually decent stuff. The first one is Acid Pro 7. Now, I started my entire journey on Acid 2 when it was Sonic Foundry.
I did as well.
And then it went to Sony, and they sold it to Magix. So and by the way, Acid 2 was better than 3 because you had different split points that you could quickly get out in order to do automations. But I digress. And then the other one on here, and this is actually why I might do it, is SoundForge. For $25, you can get SoundForge. SoundForge, if you're not familiar, if you want to master something, you want a direct audio waveform editor that can load VSTs, and also has the capacity to do linear processing and mid-side mastering, you're going to want to have something that isn't your actual DAW to do it in, and so that's very much worth it. This is a good humble bundle if you spend $25. But if you're only going to spend $1 or $12, I say skip it. So that is my spiel. Anyway, back to you, Slaughter.
Oh, well, make sure that I can get that link because I need SoundForge because I can use that as my external editor
Yeah,
editor in
absolutely.
Reaper, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
You can just select it in there. Sent.
Don't really have an external editor right now.
I'm just using Ableton, and it's not as good as having an just isn't.
Hey, Wolf, how's it going? Thanks for
So-
tuning in, man.
I guess we were talking about getting started and semi-modular as far as what benefits people in starting out is that usually a semi-modular is normaled to the standard synthesizer path where you don't have to patch anything at all to play a sound. And most of them even have MIDI in, so you can play them with your keyboard and just play it like a regular synthesizer if you're not really like digging the patching or whatever, or not feeling like doing that right off the bat. You know, if you're not really diving right in, you can just play them like the Mother 32. You can just play it like a synth, and it sounds amazing. You know, I mean, the raunchiest, best oscillator I've ever heard was the 74 Mini Moog. You know, and I mean, my favorite right now is the Further generator, but the closest thing to the Mini Moog was definitely the Mother 32. You know, as far as like the sound being close to it, like the raw oscillator tone, very close to the Mini Moog. So, you know, it's a cool synth in its own right without any patching, but you learn how to patch with something like that and you figure out what's missing is where I was going. That's where you figure out what's missing from the Mother 32. You're like, well, this thing only has one envelope and you can't really do too much with the envelope that it has. And it only has one LFO and you can't really do too much with that LFO either. So you buy something like Mats and your head explodes. You learn that all things are possible and it just takes more money and more cables, and you know, you start selling off poly evolvers and analog keys and shit like that, and then you end up here.
You sold a poly evolver?
See, I told you.
So my the working plan I've had for going into modular was the Radical Delta Sep A, and then I want to do stuff when I try it, right? When I hear it and I feel like a connection to it. And I at NobCon tried it, played it, and that thing is downright evil. It has the swarm oscillator on it. Its ability, even though it's a monosynth, to clone itself and detune is out of control. It creates this unison that is so fat and rich, and I was just like, yeah, I gotta have this. And I was like, okay, well, I can get it in a modular instead of the desktop. I can get a case from Tip Top, and I can seed the case, throw a mixer on there, and then I have two into my mixer here. I can sync it up over MIDI, and that's how I could get started. And I might need to get a few utility things in order to get beyond it, you know, to multiply the MIDI and to get trigger, and I could even sequence off the Beats That Pro. I bought that with going into modular in mind. So that's kind of like what you're talking about with the Mother 32. That was my plan. The Delta Sep is still not fucking available.
The Delta Sep is wonderful sounding, but is it ever going to happen? You know, we'll see.
Is it ever gonna happen?
I don't know. So is that thing 84 HP? I think it's pretty big, right?
Yeah, it's pretty big. It's
stretches
like
across.
a little bigger than a Mother 32, a little wider.
Yeah, well, the Mother 32 is 60. So,
Yeah, it definitely looks wider.
the thing is, I'm gonna say, you know, you want to start with more than you think you need in the way of case. That's really important. Like all of the veterans, like I hang out at Gear Sluts and the Modular forum there, and we've got a lot of like long-term modular users there, long time, been using modular since the 90s when basically it was invented, the dopers and stuff, when Eurorack was invented, excuse me, and they all say the same thing: you need more space than you think. And I didn't believe them, and I got 2 rows of 104 HP and a 1U row of 104 HP, and I was like, "No, see, the 1U, I'll be able to put all my little utilities in there, and it'll be good." No, man, no. You need 3 rows of 84 HP to start to make any kind of like meaningful system, unless you are in the position that you guys are in, where you already have a ton of gear. Then it's like you can make your modular as big as you want, but you probably don't have to. It's more about what do you want out of it at that point. What are you really trying to get out of it? Because you already got a big thing full of synthesizers. Some of those have knobs.
Yep.
So it's like, are you trying to like, are you signing up for the cult, or are you just like trying to, like just dip your toe in and check it out? Because it can be fun or big trouble either way if you aren't clear about your intentions, from the beginning. We have fun threads, called I went modular, oh no, divorce, and things like that,
Yeah, Sopiak was saying from the chat that it's 68 HP, so that's interesting.
Right. And so 68 leaves what? 16?
Yep.
Yeah. That's no good because maths is 20.
Yeah.
See, that's all right. You're already at 2 rows.
And it also might not exist because they're still doing pre-orders and they've gone to 2 NAMs.
Yeah, and Blackpool mentioned that you can't get away with a 1U rack system unless, of course, you're drone hands. And by the way, Xylo, how's it going?
The other thing that I could suggest to you now, because it exists, and you have the drummer from Another Mother, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh yeah.
Is you could build a 3-tier system with that thing, being at the bottom or the top of it or whatever. I know it's only 60 HP, so the Delta Sep wouldn't work for that. But if you decided to go a different way, that would be cool. Suit and Tie Guy came out with the little power supply thingamaboop that slides right into the Moog 60 HP cases, like the Mother 32 skiff boat thing or whatever it's called. Sopiak knows what it is. So that's pretty interesting because it's a power supply for a Eurorack system that you can put in there, which right now, that's the stuff that's in the Mother 32 thing is just for the Mother 32. You can't power Eurorack module stuff.
Oh, that's interesting.
Different cables for that.
Yeah, Sopiak's saying there's a Moog has an extension that extends the Mother and the DFAM cases to 104 HP.
That's true. They offer 104 HP cases, so theoretically you could buy 2 or 3, of those empty skiffs and a power supply and slap the DFAM in there, and still go with that form. But I gotta say, for my money, I love my Dope-4 case, and I
hear that a lot.
Highly recommend Dope-4 as the way to go for anybody getting into it ever, especially if you might leave the house. If you get the A100, like mine, you can get the one that's half as big as mine, which is 3 rows of 84. It closes patched, so you can be all ready to just throw the lid off and hook it up to your mixer and play.
Yeah, I talked to Scott about it on the last show, and it was the same thing where, he's a guy that's very handy as an engineer, and I would expect that he would build his own. I mean, he builds his own damn pinball machines. And no, he
Right.
was just like, just get the Doper. It just works, and it's worth the money. So
He is the doper. He
The
also
guy invented the format, okay? And he's been working on the power supply for Eurorack literally longer than anybody else in the world.
I like the tip top though. What do you think of that one? The tip top is cool because it tilts and it feels like you could build a Euro rack that still. There's something to like playing something horizontally that bothers me. But as soon as you do this, I'm like, oh, okay, I like that. You have
Are you
yours on
referring to
an angle.
Mantis?
Yes.
I have never heard anything bad about the Mantis, except I think maybe there's one part of it that only accepts pretty fairly shallow modules, but you usually end up with some shallow modules in your rig. That's one sacrifice you don't make in a Dofer case,
yeah,
because Dofer does a lot of blade mounted PCBs, so it's deep enough to handle all those, and that's deep, deeper than any stacked PCB module.
Yeah, interesting.
Yeah. So there's a million things. There's a million factors, and it's like that looks good enough because that's the amount of money I wanted to spend on that. Well, it is, but not if that, right? There's a million of these little caveats and kind of, well, in this use case, this is wonderful, right? I mean,
I actually like that. I love the idea of how customized it needs to be. You
Yeah.
really need to think out like what you want to get out of it. It also makes those first steps very, very hazardous potentially. You gotta take care. But we're gonna be coming to you as we get closer and learning more about modular and where to go with it, even advanced stuff. But you're in an interesting place because you went from tons of keyboards into full blown modular. You made the jump that the big jump, obviously, and now you're looking to go hybrid between desktops and modular. Do you have another tier you're gonna hit beyond modular?
I think that I kind of figured out the well, like you said, I was there, okay, I mean, I started out playing bass in rock bands in the 90s,
Oh, yeah.
and having huge pedal boards that looked like modulars, all these pedals hooked up all these different ways and stuff, and and that was kind of my thing for a long time. And then I got synths and I got into that and stacked up all these synths and groove boxes and Atari computer, Amiga computer, Commodore computers, which I had a Commodore computer in 1986, but I wasn't really able to do very much with the trackers back then. I played around with them, but I was, a kid and not really a musician of any kind at that point. But I had a lot of fun with Octatrack 5 years. That was a big, long period of time having a lot of fun playing with the Octatrack and all the big synthesizers, the Polyevolver, the Mini Moog, and the MG1 and the Sub Fatty and the Blofeld and the MS-20 and the big tower of power kind of that all you guys have now, basically. And it was fun, but it was also a nightmare. And for like 5 years, there were a couple of collaboration albums that I did, and I made an ambient album and a bunch of collaborations that I did, but I didn't do any original music for I don't know. This album is the first thing I've done in about 8 years or something. I can't remember. So I never got it all working together. I never got it all working right. It was all wonderful by itself, but MIDI, routing, the Masmith octopus diagram that we've all seen. It was my white whale that I chased for years and years and years. And between restoring the analog synths that were broken when I bought them, and adding the MIDI to them, and then getting the CV on the analog keys to play with the CV on the MG1, and all of the different things that had to work, I realized that I hadn't made any music. And I was like, all I've been doing is thinking this whole time and just spinning my wheels endlessly. I learned
Traps
how
everywhere.
to play a little bit of keyboards, and I learned synthesis. That was really important. I learned synthesis, over the past 10 years of my life. I'm still learning it, of course. And I got synthesizers way before I ever learned synthesis, and that's something people need to think about.
Absolutely, and preach on the getting nowhere part. A lot of planning and collecting and toying, and yeah.
I don't have a problem admitting that I did nothing with thousands of dollars worth of shit forever, man, because that's what happened.
Yeah.
And one day I discovered Modular somehow, and at first it looked alien and weird, and I told my wife, I'm never going to do that. It looks expensive and crazy, man. Only the crazy people on the forum are doing that.
And she said, good. Please don't.
Yeah, well, she claims to have known all along that I was so.
Yeah, you by you saying, I don't want to get into that, she could detect the error of, well, that's fascinating.
So madness ensued, and here we are and bought all that, and I don't regret the course that I've gone on at all. It's been a huge, awesome, fun experience, and I'm happy with all this stuff back here. We were talking about regrets before. Like I said, Mono Machine, huge regret. Would buy again. Would love to own again.
Rat.
Would own a real mini Moog again, for sure. But don't regret selling it because of what I got out of it. And every module that I have sold, every single one that I have sold, I should not have sold it. Basically, I should have kept them all. Because if I knew then what I knew now, I would want them. Because I do want them. And it's a lot of them. This back here, I've had the case much fuller than this, and I've had it much more empty since having it full. Like, it's sold and bought and sold and bought, like the list of things I've sold is probably as long as the list of things that are in there right now. So I wish I had all those back. And don't get into Modular with the idea that, I can just sell it. Because then you will. Just wait until you're fucking positive.
That's a really good idea. I'm glad you said that. It reinforced something that I was already thinking, which is, I don't use certain pieces and I was just going to get rid of them, but they each have their value, and I do have some level of attachment to them, and you just kind of justified it for me, so thank you.
I mean, the resale market is healthy, and the used buying market is awesome. So there's that. You can get in right now with the Mark II of everything coming out. You can get the Mark I for dirt, and you can chase that game and get in for cheap. If you're even a little bit soldering iron inclined, you can do this whole thing for 40% off. So go to Thonk UK, and look at what they have there. Thonk UK is a record label for modular makers. They basically sign modular makers to sell their records, module kits, at his label, his store. It's amazing. You can find every DIY version of a popular module like that exists there, and some you never thought even had a DIY. You can find incredibly difficult and incredibly easy and simple kits there. So
that is
it's
really
worth checking
cool.
out.
Yeah, I didn't know about this. Thonk.co.uk.
Yeah.
Wow.
If you go to NopCon, they sell kits there. Most of the booths selling modular gear, they have. It looks like you're like at a grocery store looking at candy, like hanging up on like little rows. And it's like a bag with a flat kit in it.
Yep. Yeah, I've built a few kits. I don't trust myself to build the really hard ones. I don't do any surface mount or anything like that. But through hole stuff's pretty reasonable to do, and you really can save a lot of money.
Yeah.
By just buying the kits. Some of them are half off, or some of them are even less than half off, or more than half off.
Yeah, absolutely. This is crazy. Really cool. Thanks for bringing that up.
So people who are inclined to go on an adventure and learn can really get by incredibly cheap. And here's the thing: if you go to Modular Grid and search for assemble or DIY only, you'll find little one-off websites with this one guy who makes 3 or 4 modules and sells the kits himself, and just isn't big enough for Thonk, but has a really cool module that you can only get from him, and you have to build it. So you're going to be one of the only people with it because you went and found it.
That's awesome. That's like finding a white label that no one else knows about and dropping it.
Yeah, it's
that track yourself.
Perfect analogy. It's the days of digging are not gone. Like the record digging, I was never a DJ. I never spun, but I knew cats that did, so I would go digging with them because I like record stores,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, just as an example of the savings here, I mean, they're selling the this MIDI thing kit for 105 pounds sterling, and here it is from the actual shop, 254 euro. Now I know that it's different conversion, but still, that's decent.
Yeah, that's still pretty good.
Yeah.
Can you convert it into Moog ones? That's the financial unit of measurement I'm using.
I sure can.
That's 1/80th of a Moog 1.
Ah, yes, the 1/80th.
It's like bitcoins.
Mm-hmm. It's gonna flex. One day it's gonna be worth nothing. All right, I think we really hit on modular, and there's one thing that we almost got to there that I want to backtrack on.
Okay.
I want to get back to talking about the democratization, the clones.
Oh,
there's an
right.
Interesting thing happening right now, and I want to make sure anybody watching gets a chance. So we talked about the Bogue, where there's also they're doing Roland stuff, so that's all the Behringer stuff. But Teenage Engineering, which we've talked about a lot on this podcast or show, whatever, at least the ones that I was on. I don't know if you guys covered TJ Engineering last week, but because they've done some pretty weird stuff lately, but overall they've had a pretty good run so far, and we shouldn't write them off. Their OP1 is getting a clone, and they're not Moog, they're not legendary. This is a new unit, and it's getting an open source clone. It looks a lot like it. It has some different aesthetics, and I think Ko is about to bring it up. But so this, for people who aren't familiar, the OP1 is a battery-powered synth that's really interesting, and it allows people to do portable things. It has a synth engine. It has like a radio tuner, and this is a very, very, very close facsimile of it. It's definitely trying to eat into that market and do what they're doing, and that's in chat. They're saying that's not a clone. I agree, it's not a full blown clone. This isn't like the Vogue, which is a straight ripoff. But they're not just playing the same game. They're on the same base, to use a very tortured metaphor. This is for people who would otherwise buy an OP1, and here's a much less expensive open source kitted potentially version of that. And I mean, OP1 isn't that old. It's not like you can't even make the argument that, oh, they're, that's 50 years old, and it's okay to do that now because time has passed and it's just part of the zeitgeist. This is going after something that is absolutely current, and I think that's it's very complex. I feel a little better about it than I do about the Behringer stuff, but in some ways I also feel like it's a little bit more unfair because this is an active product that is still on the market. I know it was off the market for a little bit, but here it is again. It's out. You can buy OP1s again. They
Is it the product that matters or the company? I mean, Roland's not exactly dead, and Behringer's just like doing whatever the hell they want with the 808 and 909 and stuff. Come on.
At the same time, I mean, this thing, even though it may not look like it on the surface, I mean, it's pretty unabashed as well.
They're ripping off the conceptual.
That's true.
It's a conceptual ripoff. To me, that's not as bad as like the Boog, the way it's branded and emblazoned with the font and everything. I mean, that's just like, we made a fake Boog.
Yep.
And this is so much less like that because it's like an open source community project. It's like, it might be the answer. Like, this is the community saying the OP1's too expensive because we can do this. So I agree. It is like, maybe they're, going after it, but don't they have a right as like the open source community to do this? Like, isn't this the provenance of open source? And like, I mean, it's not necessarily like actually ripping off the OP1 so much as saying the OP1's awesome. Here, you can do it without the NASA case, that makes it really expensive. Like that screen that makes it really expensive. You can do it in a cigar box if you want to,
Yeah, I think that they get massive brownie points for, especially, if we take a look at this, they threw up a GitHub page with all the code that they're using to run this thing, and you can build this. They have all of it right out there for you. So I think that, yes, that's massive points right there, because they're not sequestering somebody else's idea and then just capitalizing on it purely. Like, they're saying, here, we just opened it up. We've made this thing which just got a 40% price hike because reasons, and we're giving it to the masses. Go. That's reasonable.
I find it complex.
It is.
It's not a clean cut to me. So I agree that the Model D, it's stealing the soul of the Moog because of the aesthetic, and it would be a lot cleaner, and I wouldn't care if it were just the architecture. Hell, the later Viso,
see you, Vito.
Maybe when Viso says it's time to go, he means it's time to go push out of shit.
Oh, is it poo time? Poo time.
Is it poo time? Poo time with Viso.
Happy poo time, Viso.
And okay, so this doesn't that we think about the Bogue, it's not the problem here because it's gonna be aesthetically different. It's gonna have a different look. It's gonna have kind of its own heart and soul. But now we have a different thing because this is a software synth, and they've basically written code that is like does the OP1, and they're now releasing it. It enters a different gray area almost is as I see it, and it's almost like I'm like now we have to consider the ethics all over again under a different paradigm because here's an active product, here's software, and the software and the capabilities of the software, which is really what the OP1 has a unique look and it's portable, and those are great things. But the software creates the sound, and the software is really what we're relying on here. And they're just, I mean, they're pushing this out.
They're putting it right out there. Like, the hardware is different than the OP1. The thing's powered by a Raspberry Pi, so obviously it has a minimal Linux system on it. I don't know if that's the case for the Teenage Engineering unit or not.
No way. It's all ARM embedded, I'm sure.
Yeah, probably embedded, probably real time. And then they just put it out there. This is not a commercial product. Like, it's a concept. It's a design. Go out there. In fact, the interface includes a 320 by 240 RGB screen. Preferable AMOLED. Like, have at it. Whatever you need to do.
Yeah.
It's more interesting to me for sure than a Bogue. It's but I don't think
I
I've
don't
ever
understand
really
why
seen
everybody
someone do
makes their little things all small, man. I would make a nice big one. You know?
It's
Like where
about portability.
pads on it. You could beat on it with your whole hand.
I agree. When I saw
Make a live thing, you know?
Yeah, when I saw the OPZ or OPZ, that was just, I mean, I'm sure it's a super cool product, but especially watching Gaz on Sonic State playing with that thing, that was hilarious.
Did you guys see that the OPZ is getting like an extender that you can use to connect it up to external synths?
Yeah.
It's like little hardware dongle thing that plugs into it.
It's like a Wookiee trying to use the remote control.
Yeah, I guess for every person that wants the bigger controls, you got Chris DeMello there, says I like compact devices, and that's totally valid. And,
tiny rigs are a thing.
Teenage Engineering has you covered, apparently.
They really do.
Sausage fingers.
I like
big spaces between things.
I like to be able to turn the filter cutoff knob and like
nice Sobiek.
Like that. I don't like having to do this.
I can appreciate Moog's insistence on some of their bigger synths of making the cutoff knob real big.
Oh, it's the best.
Mm-hmm.
It's the best, yeah.
Moog layout is incredible. Moog hardware design is best. Hands down.
Yeah, speaking of Moog hardware design, the flip side of that, today I had to download the editor for the Siren, and wow, color me impressed. I expected it to be a reasonably functional interface for the Siren so I could unlock some of the, kind of hidden functionality and maybe even integrate it with my DAW occasionally when I need to automate something. But holy crap, it works really well. It's a very polished piece of kit, and granted, it's mostly just a Minotaur reskin, but man, kudos. Good job, Moog.
Didn't know you got one of those. Cool.
On the auto, I offer no judgment at this point. I just want to make sure that it's known that this is a complex issue. And I don't think anybody should come down too hard on it being a good or a bad thing yet, because there's no way that we could have worked out the ethics.
Well, here's what would rub me wrong is, like, I guess, if they just ripped off every single little module of the OP1 and instead of a cow, they have a sheep or whatever, and just make it all fruitsy cutesy and no, it's just like it, but it's not like it. See, I don't like that. But I'm imagining this is the kind of thing that a whole bunch of people could come up with a whole bunch of different stuff for. And eventually you could end up with modules on there to make it nothing like an OP1.
That would be pretty cool.
Like somebody's going to write a much better MIDI sequencer than there is on the OP1. I have no doubt. That's the first thing they're going to do. I have no doubt.
Well, I work next to somebody who I'm pretty sure is going to build one. So we'll get to find out.
Yeah. Well, it won't take much to make a better sequencer than they have on. They're all really cute, but
I haven't used it. Is the
Not-
sequencer on the OP1 gimped or something?
No, there's a whole bunch of sequencers. They're just not normal. They're not made to do what you want to do. They're made to do what the OP1 does.
Ah.
Which, that's okay. That's cool or whatever. I had one, I sold it. And I'm happy that I sold it. I don't miss it because the workflow did not gel. I was not into that workflow at all. The hardware is very smooth to touch. It's very wonderful to play the thing. The keys feel nice. The knobs are pretty cool. All of that stuff works real good. It's a crappy MIDI controller. And it's no fun to try and make a song on that tape deck crap. That's it for me. Like, those were the deal breakers. Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't touched it
Slaughterhouse,
myself.
red means recording. Slaughterhouse is not. That was how I was introduced to the OP1, by the way, for the most part, was just watching his videos and watching him use that little tape recorder on there to make little songs. And I was like, oh, that's nifty and doesn't look like a thing that I would enjoy. So
No fun. No fun at all for me.
I think it looks cool. I don't think I would pay that price. I would be more interested in the auto, but we'll see.
A quick left turn
Everything's
for an
amazing.
amazing piece of gear that our good buddy D-Quill found.
Left turn.
Uh-oh.
That's right. For those people with big Wookiee hands, we have the Force Free Plus big enter key throw pillow with USB. That's right. It's a fully functional enter key, but plush in case you need to nap.
Whoa.
How big is it? Is it like just gigantic? Like, can you?
Right there. So see, that's
Yeah, that's
no
awesome.
banana for size, but yeah, it's pretty great.
That's for when you're punching your time card.
Yeah, now hopefully it can be remapped.
Out of here!
Yeah, hopefully it can be remapped because that would be a good,
Space
SRQ or yeah, escape key of doom. I like
I'm
it.
getting this, guys.
Thanks, D-Quill.
Man, that would make a great MIDI controller.
Yeah, absolutely. And in fact, let's read the reviews because it didn't do very well. So let's see. The first one is from Mike, who in December 21st of 2018 said it broke right away, almost immediately. It looks like within 2 minutes. Then we have Presby Summer
Mike
Camp.
is 8 feet tall.
Yeah, Presby Summer Camp, May 9th of 2018 said every time I hit the enter button, it doesn't let me do anything else. Well, I think that, Presby, your problem might be that you were attributing some additional functionality to the product that may not be there. It is just an enter button. Let's see. We also have Juan Diego Salazar, who says the button broke on the first try. Wow, so even faster than our buddy Mike up there.
In 2 minutes.
It needs
I feel like
support
people
on
who
the back
buy
to
this
avoid this.
Self-select is people with some ham fists that might be beating the crap out of stuff.
Yeah.
But if you're attracted to this product, you might be someone who's going to break it.
Yeah, but
to
be fair,
it's a bad product, but
good old Amazon customer, I love their reviews. Says good quality. It's a great gift for his or her mom. She likes it very much. So I think that's the final
that
word.
one by that review, is that by definitely not the enter key manufacturer?
That's by Amazon customer. They do a lot of reviews. I don't know if you've seen them around. We don't really know a lot about them. A bit mysterious. They have kind of the default icon, but
Amazon customer.
They put out a lot of quality reviews. Usually 5 stars.
Oh, hail Bezos.
Yeah.
All right. Let's keep moving. We got some more stuff to cover. Do we want to do, before we get to the end here, Electron New Era Last Splash or Reverbs?
Well, I would Electron, because I had something to say about that to tie in with the democratization slowdown. Okay. So I feel like Electron is a company that is a shining example of a company that's done it right. The democratization aspect, like their boxes were very inaccessible. They were expensive. They were esoteric. And they had a stigma attached to them, like, you know, you could only make a certain type of music with them. And since they changed the format to the little square boxes, the diggies, and of course the newest release, the Electron model samples, which is a new format that's going to have more models, I assume.
Gorgeous.
I'm
Good-looking chassis.
really looking forward to the future from them, because they're making more accessible products, economically, brain power wise, everything. They're you know, just way easier to use than they were, you know, the original products, and way more affordable. So I think that's an example of a company that's doing it right compared to the companies that have, like, maybe they've been the companies that ushered it in with, you know, with the things that made it happen. Korg, Monotron, I'm looking at you, you know, Monotron was like one of the first little analog things that came out in this whole revival going on for
It's
10 years
important.
now, you know.
It is straight up important. Monotron, it's inexpensive. Monotron Delay, the ones that followed, it's important historically because it was a touchstone for this. It brought back. It was like everybody forgot what analog sounded like. They've been
Right.
using VSTs for 20 years because analogs are so super expensive. And VSTs, this isn't to knock on VSTs or anybody who uses them. VSTs are at their best when they do their own thing. When you look at Serum, which isn't trying to be an analog. Serum is trying to be Serum. It's trying to be a wavetable synth that takes full blown advantage of its digitalness. That's great. It does its own thing. FM8 does its own thing. All these synths, on VST, and there's also a lot of analog modeling synths. And then suddenly Monotron Delay comes out, and people are like, "Not about analog," because it has this tone, this richness that lights up
Yeah.
your brain if you hear it. And not everyone like really understands that until you put your hands on one, and or I guarantee you may subconsciously understand it because music that you listen to and love that is synthesizers sometimes has it. And that's a sound. It's a different sound than what you can get out of digital. There's no aliasing. It's amazing. And Monotron Delay managed to have that. And as soon as you heard that oscillator, that fully analog oscillator, even though it was so inexpensive and small, it was like, oh yeah, I want this. I want to go down this path. And it triggered off just this whole huge revival. It led to the Volcas. It led to everything else that Tatsuya did. It led to the mini log. All this other stuff continued to come out, and other manufacturers started to give way. And that's when you saw Electron. Hey, doggy. That's when you saw Electron move in that direction. And what I like about the model samples, it's interesting how people are like the people. Electron can't do anything without people like treating it as like controversy. There's like half the people who are like, "Oh, it's
Right.
the worst product ever," and because they're they're heavily invested in Volcas and other things that are really expensive, and suddenly Electron is getting into that. And then on the other side, there's the people who have like $3,000 items in their rig, and they just bought the Waldorf Quantum, and they're like, Electron's getting cheap, and they're selling out. And there's a bunch of people who are barely speaking up and that are going to buy it because that thing is going to sell like crazy. It's a one opera function, uses all the stuff that you actually want, and it's super streamlined because you can do it all from the front panel. It's going to be the easiest Electron piece of equipment that's ever come out to use, and it has exactly what you need to build the kind of rig that most people are trying to build right now at this point in time. It's going to sell. They're going to make so much money.
Yep.
They're going to sell 100,000.
It's the next thing I'm buying.
Yeah, it's going to be fantastic. When do you think you're going to get it?
As soon as someone buys my bass amp.
By the way, everyone in the stream, if you're looking for a bass amp, I know a guy.
Yeah.
Guy. He's right. Hold on, let me see my hand. Is it right there? That guy, right there. Selling his bass amp.
And where are you selling it, Slaughter?
Well, it's a bass amp, so I'm selling it locally on Craigslist. But if somebody actually wanted it from around, Twitch, we could work out shipping it. It'd probably be pretty expensive. It's a Mesa Boogie Walkabout.
Nice.
A nice bass amp. I have a Mesa. You really can't see my streams. I have a Mesa Subway DI. I just wanted to get the Mesa tone. I play like a Ernie ball through it.
Right. Yeah. I saw that stream.
People, do it. Buy it. Get this man into his model samples. So he
Right.
can make some new stuff.
Model
don't think
samples, Novation Circuit, and Arturia Micro Freak, all incoming.
Arturia Micro Freak is cool.
I think super cool.
It's super new. It's got the mutable aspect to it, all those different sounds.
Yep.
What
got
about
that
the circuit is
aftertouch.
getting you interested? Because it seems like, don't get me wrong, I think the circuit is an amazing device. I had one. It's one of the only things I regret selling. It was like a Swiss Army knife. No matter how I reconfigured, I could use it. I did end up selling it and buying the base. It seems to me like it's a little bit repetitive with the synths and the sample. Like you got it covered, kind of.
I am going to use it as my big poly. As you know, it has 2 6-voice polyphonic synths in it.
Mm-hmm. Mini
And
Novas.
they're wavetable synths. If you go into the online editor and edit them, I was watching the Cuckoo super tutorial today, and it's deep, the editing. And you know how you want to use those big giant poly sounds, but when you've got all the voices used up and all the long tails and all the reverb and stuff, then it starts stealing the voices when you start the next chord.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's only going to happen if I have 12 fingers from now on, because I'm just going to run both sides of the circuit synthesizer off one MIDI channel and use it as a 12-voice polyphonic synth. And also that'll be the chord sequencer and kind of like the backbone of new compositions, which will allow me to be more live on the Electron model samples and on the small Euro rack.
So yeah, I like the portability aspect. I would go on like my front deck and just bang out a beat. And then I could bring it back in. I used to drive my entire
Right.
rig with it. I'd bang out the beat, and then I would bring it back in, and I'd plug it in. And instead of using its own internal stuff, I'd be using the Moog and the base station too, and other things that I had
Right.
up there. And so it's like I could. It was an awesome buddy for the Electron as well, for the Octatrack, because you could sequence and hear sounds. So you could get into a different workstation than standing back there in a more compositional headspace without having to use the big synths and figure stuff out and develop and write and do compositions. And I bet it would. Okay, so I bet it would play nice in that scenario with your sample as well. You'll be able to sit it next to it and do some writing. That's all right. That's pretty cool. All that is hinging on the bass amp, or is that like the plan for the year?
Well, I'm selling a few things, just random bits of gear, and I am also actually looking for a little bit of work here and there to try and figure all this out a little faster, But yeah, the idea is to get back into it as quick as possible, to get into the model samples as quick as possible, because I have, just watching the videos, I have so many ideas about. I feel like I could make an album with that piece of gear all by itself, and I might.
Pretty cool. All right, it's almost getting to that time. Is there anything else we want to cover? We had more stuff, but Slaughter's going to be back, and we'll be able to go over it all then. I think we probably have time for one more. Is there anything else? We had some interesting stuff that we wanted to do, but we're going to kick it down the road. I know we definitely don't have time to do ethics of category hopping, ASMR, microphone while playing. We wanted to get into that. live streaming, tech methods and locales. We had a lot of good topics. Is there anything else that we wanted to get into?
I just wanted to mention really quick, Moonhouse AV department mentioned kind of want a circuit purely out of my frustration with BeatStep Pro. I hear you. And yes, the circuit is a soothing piece of hardware. Yes, ASMR, DAG. You nailed it right there. That was a topic that we actually had scheduled for today that was going to be a pretty deep
That's
topic,
right.
but I don't think we have enough time to really do it justice. And it went beyond that too, just to give you guys a preview. So looking at ASMR and then also kind of the ins and outs, nuances, ethics, etc. of category hopping on Twitch. So we've just noticed that jumping into categories where maybe you don't expect music to show up, you end up reaching out to a new audience and connecting with people. So definitely worth some discussion.
It's one of the side benefits of gaming streams. The gaming streams I've been running lately, people stumble into my channel based on the game I'm playing, and they see this back there and they're like, what's that? And I'm like, oh, that's my modular. I do that too on stream, check it out. And they instantly punch the follow as soon as they see that I'm not just a gaming streamer, I guess. I don't know, So that's an interesting thing. If you're out there and you're in the rut and you don't feel like playing music streamers, go ahead and play a game, man, because your friends will come hang out, put on some music that you like to listen to, and play a game.
Yeah, no, absolutely. That's a great example too.
So there's one more thing I wanted to cover.
Oh, real
and
quick.
We'll use it to close out the show.
I just wanted to mention Tremendum Labs. Thank you for the RL host. That's fantastic, and good luck with your mobile stream. That's fantastic.
Tremendum
really
Labs
cool.
their channel is fantastic. Everybody, please follow Tremendum Labs and check them out.
Yep, they glitch better than anyone. They glitch in real life. Point.
Yeah.
All right, so here's what I wanted to close out with. I just wanted to. Last weekend, Shrimp Crew did an event. It was a 303-day event. Sunday was 303, quite literally, March 3rd. It was a tribute to the Roland TB3. So everyone, no, I don't think anyone is a pure acid techno or house artist. So everyone stretched to do something relevant and to tip their cap to it. The event went really well. We saw a lot of new faces, familiar faces came out. A lot of unique things and different things that we were able to hear. Fave did a masterful job of organizing all the different artists and making sure that everybody was, understood when they were going to be playing. The artists that performed, they stretched themselves out of their comfort zone and did something new. Not new, they did something that they just don't normally do, and that made it interesting and unique because it wasn't the same old stream. There was a lot of 303 things that happened elsewhere. There was, jams that got posted to YouTube. Roland released the 303 into the cloud, and they did their own thing, even though last year they forgot it was even happening. So they're starting to maybe clue in a little bit to some of their culture. But I'm not even kidding when I say I don't think I saw anyone who did a 303 event like we all did on Twitch. And so I want to say a big thank you to everyone who played, everyone who come and hung out, Fave for putting the lineup together, everyone who helped promote posting it all over the place, everyone who helped create assets. Viso created a bunch of images for it. Tatchet created a video flyer. It went really well, and everything was super simpatico, and I couldn't have been more thrilled.
Absolutely.
Our next one, we may do others, but the next one that's definitely happening is going to be 808. There may be another one.
And absolutely, Eli, we want everybody and anybody to jump in. If you have something to do with that particular theme, do it.
If you want to be involved, come to our Discord. Come hang out. We're in there all day, all night. It's a good, solid community. It's if you got a project, come host it there. We'll do what we can to help promote it and be a part of it. We do this kind of stuff. It's not just a daily thing. We support each other, collaborate, do music. and that's kind of part of what this is all about. It's about not being alone making music in your cave, instead being able to connect with people while you do it. And that's the essence of Shrimp Crew and what we're here to do. So if you haven't already, jump in the Discord, and that's all I got to say. Thanks everyone for 303 day. Great weekend.
Yeah, it was a good one. I got a chance to watch, I'm pretty sure, every single person on the list. Since I didn't play, I was able to kind of stay up and just rock it out. And it was a really well done event. I really enjoyed all the music. Wow.
Awesome.
All right. Anybody else? Anybody want to close with anything else, or is that business adieu?
Thanks for having me. This was fun.
You
Yeah,
bet.
this was fantastic.
Will you come back?
Thanks for coming on.
Yeah, sure. Anytime.
Hell yeah. I think next week we're doing a DJ stream, so tune in for that. We got a lot to cover there, because I think this is like our fourth synth stream in a row. So we're gonna talk about the other end of the paradigm, the
Yeah,
DJ world.
When we say DJ stream, that doesn't mean we're going to be throwing down some records but more talking about the gear and talking about some of the politics and various other little aspects. And we will be touching on the sync topic for sure.
Yeah, I find all of that terribly interesting, in spite of it being out of my wheelhouse. It's all really fun to hear about the inner workings of similar enterprises.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it's connected, right? You can view it as like one large ecosystem.
Absolutely. I mean, there's been this tendency to say, well, that's modular music, and that's DJ music, and that's EDM music, and that's, dubstep or whatever. And I mean, we're all in the music category, and it's the same 5,000 to 10,000 people every day until we make it bigger, until we get all those people.
Yeah, until Weezer starts giving us some of their fans.
we need our own island, clearly.
Yeah, we need Fortnite to give us an island. Shrimp Crew Island.
And
it's just got a giant boat that constantly farms out shrimp and hands it to people bubblegum style. That's what we need.
Nice.
Yeah.
So next week's the DJ show, and I think that's probably it. Who are we rating to?
Is Tremendum on?
Doesn't look like they've quite gone. Let's stretch until they do.
Yeah, we can do that. Absolutely.
We can
stretch.
Yeah. Any questions from the crew?
Yeah, bring on some questions.
Questions from chat.
Like, where did I get this amazing mug?
Why, yes, that was what I was wondering.
That is a pretty sick El Dia de los Muertos, I assume.
Who's the guest on
next
the DJ stream next week?
Sweeby and Tatchet. It's gonna be awesome.
Sweeby and Tatchet, interesting. Okay.
If you've ever heard them go at it, they have this rapport that is hysterical.
Sorry, Julie Jane.
Let's see.
Yeah, so
sorry, Julie.
Yeah, it would be really cool. I mean, I know, I don't want to speak for you, but I noticed that you were using Tractor and an X1, and so I'd assume that you do incorporate sync into your set. So I really want somebody on who is going to be an anchor for sync, like an advocate for it, stating why it's important, why it's a fascinating, new, not new, but reasonably new entry into the DJ world, and why it's not offensive. And I also want somebody who is just a vinyl junkie who says, F all that shite, you guys are all terrible, L2 beat match. I want both. So
jump in the Discord.
Moonhouse AV department has a serious question. Anyone busted an eardrum before? It's freaking... I have busted an eardrum before. And it was very, very, very painful. It feels like getting kicked in the boy parts, if the boy parts were your eardrum, basically, for a month.
how'd you bust it? Was it from high decibel
Thanks for
sound,
asking,
or-
because it's a fun story. I was riding jet ski very, very fast, recklessly, possibly under the influence of alcohol. And I was trying to do things that were way outside of my current ability or form. And I went ahead and flipped upside down and smacked my head sideways, wham, on the water, and broke my eardrum with water.
Could you hear out of the ear?
Oof.
Like,
You
what
can
happened?
still hear it. Sounds like you're underwater and you don't want to hear anything because, well, for me, it was perforated the entire length of it or whatever. It was a large split, and it took a month and a half or more to heal, and I have hearing loss in that ear, and it's not a cool story, bro.
Damn. It does heal though on its own, but you didn't get full recovery. Well,
I mean,
I'm
this is
never going on a jet
also
ski.
the ear that was next to the ride drum for 12 years straight, or the ride cymbal for 12 years straight. So you make the call, ride cymbal or jet ski. I don't know, man. Or I guess that's the crash ear. Yeah. This is the ride ear.
Julie Jane, I'm pretty sure Coherence is the one typing in the Gear-Splaining account.
That is correct. Yeah, it is Coherence.
And let's see. So we're gonna have a good number of people on next week. DCV, attach it, jump in. We'll see who else we can get integrated. I don't know how many people Discord can handle, but we'll see. And we're also doing this every week, so even if you can't get on next week, just make sure come hang out and we'll rope you in. Our entire orientation is to take the artists that are in our circle, the local streamers, the ones in the community, and bring them on so that they can offer their voice, their perspective, help build up the communities, and be we all roll together, that kind of thing.
Yeah, absolutely. And Kristen Mello, I apologize for consuming your life. Don't worry, it's consuming ours too. So we can all just kind of commiserate, have a pity party, and talk about some gear
And coffee.
and
This
coffee.
gigantic mug.
Oh yeah.
I got it
Stellar
from
mug.
the Mexican Pavilion at Epcot.
So, quick update. It would appear that Tremendum Labs is going live at 9:59 p.m. Pacific time, which would be about 17 minutes.
Topic?
9:59? That's okay. Let's cover reverbs.
The reverbs.
Love it.
Fantastic.
Reverbs.
I've been researching reverbs a lot. This is next. And you mentioned Slaughter in chat. We did reverbs a little bit ago. The more Ocean Machine. So I did want to start there because that
Okay.
one is super compelling.
Yes.
But I found it has a crazy flaw.
Okay.
You know about its flaw? Have you heard about it?
No, I know nothing.
It, despite having MIDI in and 2 of the 3 modules on it being devoted to delay, cannot detect tempo and sync.
Which
That is a glaring
is this?
omission at this level.
Yeah.
Like, isn't it 300 plus for that?
Yeah.
290,
You gotta literally, on
325 or
2
something?
modules, you need to dial it in with either tap. If there isn't a tap button, you literally have to press another button and tap. So it doesn't even get itself that way. Or you can save a preset that has the tempos you want, and that's not terrible, I guess. And then you could do program changes. That's all the MIDI does, is it allows you to do program changes.
Those would be deal breakers for me.
It's a deal breaker for me too. I'm not looking for
synth-based,
programs.
MIDI-based rig. It's just not meant for that. It's meant for a guitar player who's not really going to hook up to MIDI.
Yeah.
They threw it on there like for whatever reason. What does it do?
So here's what it
Program
does do.
change.
The MIDI does program change. Correct. That's it. It's a shame because the actual architecture beyond that is really good. The reverb on it, the shimmer on it sounds good. The reverb sounds really good. By putting the 2 delays in it and allowing them to go before or after it, you can create these wonderful ambient soundscapes. You can create this spectral delay feel thing where you create this wall of like the overtones and chords, and it's by Devin Townsend, the artist, and he does that in his own production. So it's really let's see. Nightworks has a comment, but distracted me.
Yeah.
So it sounds like Devin Townsend. That's really what it's all about, is creating those kind of large walls of delayed sound, and that's totally awesome. Except I'm just not. What I want to do is I want to have a bunch of knobs to be able to tweak, and I don't want to have to freaking figure out the tempo. I want it to change with me as I go.
Correct. Yes, in a synth and MIDI based rig, the delay should just play along.
Yep. My current unit doesn't do that, and that's why I'm getting rid of it.
So Nightworks, to your point, yes, that is absolutely on the list. It is something that I want to get done. It will likely get integrated next week. I just ran out of time this week. I had some things with the move come up, and I just didn't have a chance to get to it. But yes, absolutely fantastic idea. It will happen.
I have to be right back in 30 seconds.
Sure.
30 seconds, huh? He's not taking a Vizzo.
No, 30 seconds is
not enough time.
More a Vizzo. Oh.
Yeah.
Oh. Yeah.
30 seconds is not enough time for that.
That just happened.
Yep. It's not. Nope. Not poo time.
Not poo time.
What else? That's the more.
Come on.
Hey, Gene Rush, how you doing today? Poutini, yeah. Vizzo, it's not really poutini. It's more just like poo.
Poutini? You talking like wootini?
Yeah, it's the food. Poutini. Ooh, damn it! Sopiak was on, and I forgot to tell him the story how we named the shrimp crew. Promised I'd do that over there. Gotta do that. Because that's a funny story. A lot of people want to know that. But oh well, we'll get back to that.
Oh, you're going to leave people hanging?
Hell yeah, that's the idea. That way they come back next week.
That's true. Yeah, so as far as the reverbs, though, we might as well just touch on those really quick while we're waiting. Of course, the elephants in the room. Strymon Big Sky. And the Eventide Space. Yep.
Those are the two that seem to be completing for my attention.
Yeah, thanks for the follow, Gene Rush.
Is also pretty interesting.
I was looking at the Venturous, but you don't have any MIDI control there, do you? Unless that USB provides it, and I'm not really a huge fan of USB MIDI.
You don't have MIDI control, but if it's just a reverb, I don't care. If it's got delays on it, I care. But if it's just a reverb, there's nothing. There's very few reverbs that create tempo that's perceivable, and I want to get a sync off of.
Have either of you guys considered the H9?
I have. It's the Eventide H9. It's got similar algorithms to the Space. I have considered it. I like more knobs though, so I know it can do more. And it has more power under the hood. Can house more algorithms, but I just want the knobs. I want to be able to play with Space Live.
Okay, so I hear that, and that's the common complaint, because it is ultimately a guitar pedal. As far as what it was, quote unquote, meant for. It's meant to stomp on and not control by hand.
Mm-hmm.
But you can control the parameters via an iPad or an iPhone, and you can control the parameters via a MIDI controller as well. Just to throw that out there, because I wanted to say this about it. What's cool about the H9 is that you can load an algorithm from any of that series of pedals that the Space comes from, which, is, I used to own one and I sold it, and that to the regret list. Kind of like I sold that prematurely. Like should not have sold that because I could use that now. I would still use the H9 now because it has, quite frankly, amazing sounds. Amazing sounds in it. Just incredible. You know.
Yeah, that's what I've heard. I've heard the sounds on it are tight.
Yeah, there's a question Moonhouse asked about the price, and it looks like the H9, it's got a couple of different variants, the core, the
Correct.
harmonizer, or
It's what
the
comes
core
with
and the
it.
max.
That's
The
because the
algorithm.
algorithms are for sale separately
Gotcha.
on Eventide's iTunes store.
Okay, so
And,
yeah, you're looking at about
they-
400 for the core, and then all the way up to 700 for the max.
The max includes everything that exists now and everything that's to be, as far as I know.
Gotcha.
If you get a max license, and people, I believe they've made the licenses transferable at this point. In the beginning, they weren't. I don't know, but people do sell these pedals.
They sure do. Yeah, I see
used.
one sitting on Guitar Center and on Reverb right now. I
I-
used Max for 500, or I used one from Guitar Center, a Core for 300.
Okay, see, a max for 500 is pretty amazing, in my
Yeah.
opinion. I bought it brand new off the shelf as soon as it came out, paid full price for it for the standard version that came with about 10 or 11 algorithms, I think. Not the core. The core comes with one, I think. And I never bought another one because the ones that came with it were so amazing. I just it had Black Hole and it had Shimmer and it had a couple of the other ones that you know about and really like, from the other pedals. And that was enough. So I never even bought any of the other algorithms. And they have H9 specific algorithms too that are only available for the H9.
Nice.
And the pedal's capable of being a looper and a chopper and all kinds of weird stuff.
Unoya likes to keep it
needs
simple.
knobs.
There you go. Just 2 faders and your on-off switch, the harmonic percolator, HP1.
I'm for it.
Nice.
I like it.
Like I said, though, it needs knobs. For what I'm looking to do, I'm not
Oh,
dissing the pedal.
you
To
need
me, the pedal
knobs.
looks like it would be great.
Yeah,
to
I was
put it
going
on
off
a
for a
board.
minute.
Put it on a board and let it be its own, like a bus, and it's just a persistent reverb, and it creates space for everything, and you just leave it to be. I would not get it though because I want to play with space. Like my goal here is I want to be able to twist it and turn it and move it in different directions.
Well, there's your knobs as long as the space that you need is distorted.
I think I had this pedal in high school. I had a
think I
rat
did
distortion
too.
pedal.
Everyone had that in high school.
Yep.
It wasn't that good.
Like mono.
Yeah, that
I
and,
used
and
it on
like a
bass.
then like a Boss chorus or phaser. You had to have one of those in your arsenal.
Anyone have that green envelope filter pedal? Was the God? Was it was that the
Ibanez.
same guys? And no, it wasn't the Ibanez Tube Screamer. Hold on, I'll find this one. Envelope pedal.
The Enigma? No. The Disco Terrapin?
The DoD envelope filter.
Oh, the 440.
The FX25B.
FX25B.
I didn't even know what a filter was, but I bought this thing, and you plug your bass into it, and you could play it. It was like, wow, okay, it's like an auto bass wah that goes. It would be kind of cool to have it again, actually. It was like for funk bass players. And the louder your signal was, the more it triggered the envelope, which slung the filter around.
There were a few other reverbs I put down on that list, and I forgot what they are now.
Let's see, Dreadbox White Line. I think the Nyx has a reverb on it that's really good. Is that what you're talking about?
The White Line is the module version of the reverb that's in the Nix, which is made by that external company that isn't Dreadbox. I forget the name of the company, but they make the effects for the Nix and a few other things, and license it to Dreadbox. And it's also in that module, the white line reverb, and it's an incredible sounding reverb.
Yeah, that Nix is like, it's a perfect reverb for techno. You're making like electronic stuff. At least that's how I've heard it used. So I
Yeah,
haven't actually put
yeah.
my fingers on it and tried it, but it's pretty cool. I didn't know it was standalone. I just knew that the Dreadbox had it on there, the Dreadbox Nix. So that's kind of neat.
Yep, there's a Euro rack version.
There's other ones that aren't even on here that have a good reputation, but they're more guitar oriented. But there's the Empress. I don't know if you guys have heard of that one.
Yeah,
If you're-
yeah.
The guitarists are always talking about it. And that's probably worth checking out. Let's see. The Valhalla, I'm not familiar with.
That's a plugin.
Oh
You
yeah,
can
okay.
get- you can get a card for the ZDSP for the Valhalla reverb as well.
Okay, that's neat. I have heard of that. And let's
It's
see.
an expensive investment for a module, but the Mark II has been released, I think, so the Mark Ones might sell for less now.
ZDSP. Yep, there it is. So this thing, you can literally, you buy this. It's a base system, and you can get a card that can host plugins.
Not plugins, but well, I mean, technically, yeah, but I mean, the guy Sean Costello that made Valhalla reverb and what's the other one? The big one that he made. I mean,
Dragonfly Delay.
I thought it was another reverb with some other
Could
name.
be.
And anyway, it's there's a couple of them that you can get for the ZDSP as well as the plugins. Halls of Valhalla is one of them, and there's another one I just can't remember what it's called.
That
So-
ZDSP thing is kind of interesting.
Just a heads
Look
up,
into that.
Tremendum is in fact live.
All right,
right
is
then.
everyone ready for the jump?
Or was?
I don't see
Yeah,
him.
there they go. Yep. It's
believe you,
Twitch. Twitch is being twitchy.
All right, everyone, especially for the new folks, super glad to meet all of you, and hope to see you next week. Hope to see you in our streams. Tomorrow's Coherence. Slaughter streams like most days. You probably find him out there. Deke will be back on Friday. I'll be on Saturday night also with Coherence. There's stuff every single day. Tatchet's playing in there. Deej plays on Fridays or on Saturdays. So come hang out. Come hang in the Discord with Stream Crew, and we will see you.
And Nias, I will look into that KVR audio plugin, and hopefully we will talk about it on a subsequent show, maybe next one. So thank you, everybody, and we will see you next week. Be sure to reach out to us on the Discord, especially if you're interested in having that battle of the DJ sync or not to sync. Peace.
This is a good raid for Tremendum.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, fantastic. Let me...
There looks
Good
like
show,
someone's
guys.
jamming at the bass. Yeah, it was awesome.
I mean, I don't know what you